Animating the beat of a human heart accurately can be really hard, and the internet is filled with inaccurate human heart animations. Today I'm going to show you a foolproof way to use freely available information, medical image data, videos out there on YouTube, as well as some files that I'll provide you with to improve your accuracy of your heartbeat animations incredibly. We'll do it in Cinema 4D. If you'd like to follow along with this project and have a free heart model, please use the link in the description below to download my free medical resources bundle. It includes the heart animation files that I'll be using in the video today, as well as some links to some really nice models that you could find out there. So without further ado, let's get to it. So a quick search on YouTube using MRI of a beating heart as your search term will pull up all sorts of MRI videos. And most of these will include an MRI of the heart with contrast injected so that you can actually see the brightness of the blood inside the heart showing up. And hovering over these, you get a kind of a good sense of how the heart moves, right? So there's just like back and forth rocking portion. And if you don't know exactly what you're looking at, if you're not familiar with working with medical image data to look at things, we're looking at this is actually a strange angle, sort of a 3/4 view slice through the heart. And so maybe what I'll do is pull up a couple of examples here that we can use that are just really good quality. I think this is a wonderful video. So thank you to Mushin111 for providing this. I'm going to use this one partly as a guide. It shows you different cross sections through the video or through the heart using MRI. So we're seeing that blood flow coming through, seeing the ventricles down here contracting with the atria at the top filling up with blood. So I've pulled up Cinema 4D with the heart model here, and this heart model is generated from the Visible Human project. If you don't know what the Visible Human project is, I'll put a link in the description about that too, so if you feel like diving in further, you can. But essentially, it's segmented out from photographic image data from a human cadaver that was cryogenically frozen and sliced from head to toe. And so I hand painted these models, and it's not the like best quality model on the planet, but it is actually pulled from real medical image data. So it is a fairly accurate reproduction of a real person's heart. So I'm going to use this as my heart for our project today. And what I thought I'd do is just like pull this up side by side with this video and just sort of rotate them so we get a better sense for what we're actually looking at. So what we're looking at right now is kind of a slice from this point of view, so through this left ventricle and this left aorta, and that's what you're seeing. So this line right here that's moving is this septum right here. So you can see how much it actually moves up and down as the heart squeezes, right? And you can see what the pulsing is really like. And in a moment here, we'll probably switch to a different point of view. And then I'll rotate again. So this time we're actually looking kind of more at a axial section. So we're looking sort of like this. If you slice down through the middle of the heart, we're seeing both aortas and both ventricles beating. And so this gives us a really good sense of how the heart is beating and what the actual motion is like. So that's one resource that we can use to help guide us. The other is a data set that I have pulled up, and if I'm going to go ahead and open it up for you here in Cinema 4D. So the other thing is having an accurate beating heart, and this is something I'm also going to provide for you for free in the free resources bundle. So you'll get the free resources bundle I have linked below. Includes both of these heart models. This one that repeats, right? So this is actually using medical image data, and I created 3D models for each phase of the animation. So this is a realistic, actual animation of a real person's heart using MRI data, converted into 3D models. And I did this many years ago for a project, but it's right now, I think, something that's going to be very useful, right? So, but you can see the same sorts of motions in here that we were seeing in the online visuals from the YouTube video. And so I'm going to use this really as my guide to help moved forward. So I can see the aorta pulsing and moving down. I can see the right and the left ventricle contracting. And what we're actually looking at right now is the blood, right? So we're looking at the blood filling the heart. We're not actually looking at heart tissue, but we're looking at the volume of blood uh, being imaged through contrast agents inside of the heart. So very, very useful. Again, I'm going to provide this for you for free. You just need to click the link below, sign up for my free resource download, and you can grab this as well as all the other resources that I provide in there for you for free. So what I'm going to do is take this animated heart, bring it out. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it right here. And I'm just going to move it over. So we have side by side, real size, accurate size, this beating heart, along with my heart I created using the Visible Human project. And so I'm going to show you now kind of a step-by-step method for animating this heart and animating really any heart. This process will help us sort of embed in our memories what the motion of a heart is really like. So we've got this heart beating, and you can see as it's going, we've got this like ventricles are contracting. So every time the ventricles contract, that's moving blood through the body, and it's coming back and forcing it into the atria through the vena cava, superior and inferior vena cava. And so that's why we're getting this inflation of the atria every time we get contraction of the ventricles. So it kind of makes sense. And then there's a slight contraction of the ventricles after that. I'm sorry, the atria. So what I want to do is figure out a way that I can animate this heart so that it feels like this one. But I want to do it in a way that doesn't actually manipulate this specific model. So I'm going to make a copy of it, and we're going to use, eventually what we're going to use is a cage method or a mesh animation to deform the heart underneath it. So let's start off just by duplicating this. So Control C, Control V. And what I want to start with is grabbing this copied heart and put it in my volume builder. And I'm just going to turn the volume builder down, the voxel size to be smaller. So that's looking pretty nice. I want to add a dilate and a erode. So the way the cages work is they have to have a mesh that is larger or encompasses the model that you want to animate. So I'm going to create a dilate and erode around my heart model so that it's surrounding it. And it probably doesn't need to be quite so big. I'll do like 3. And then I want to put this heart model in, or this volume builder inside a volume mesher. And then I want to take the volume mesher and I'm going to put that in a remesh object. I haven't done it yet. I just want to show you before I do that what this mesh actually looks like. So here's the crappy data mesh, right? That's animating and changing. It's a new model every time. And this is what the volume builder is giving us. The volume mesher is giving us this kind of mesh. So I'm going to drag that volume mesher into a remesh object so that it gives us a better quality mesh to work with. And I also want to reduce this mesh so that it is much lighter. So I'm going to turn this down to 10%. And you can see that there are spots where the model underneath is actually still kind of coming through. So maybe 10% is a little too much. Let's try 20. It's a little better. I think I've got more to work with now. And then I can manipulate this. So once I'm happy with this mesh, now what we're doing is we're going to animate this mesh, right? So this mesh is going to be animated and it's going to control the motion of the model underneath it. And so I'm going to hit C to make editable. And now I'm going to use my polygon editing tools, select some polygons up here. I want to make sure that soft selection is enabled. Turn it down to something like 40, maybe 30. And I'll just pull some of these. I click the surface button and that's going to just like hone it in a little closer. So I just want to make sure that there are no spaces where the model is being overlapped. And I could have probably just made a larger overlap amount, but I like to keep it as close to the model original shape as possible. So it just takes a couple minutes to do this. It's almost relaxing. Now, you'll notice when I get close, there's like some strange sort of ghosting happening, but it's not actually real, so I'm not going to worry about it. Okay. So once I feel pretty safe about having a model that is a little larger and looking nice, I'll be done with that. So let's put it back on standard model mode. So now we've got our original heart model uh, outlined basically or offset by a larger mesh. And if I turn on my X-ray mode, you can see kind of how much it is overlapping that mesh. So we're going to be using this as our cage to animate the model underneath. So step one, make a cage that's bigger than your model and has less polygons, fewer polygons. Now I want to use my dope sheet, have it up a little bit, and I'm going to kind of use this moving heart underneath here. And let's turn our regular shading back on. And what I want to do is I want to find this moment in this heartbeat. So we're kind of at rest right here. I want to find the sort of pinnacle of the contraction. And it's either here or here, right, between one of these two. And kind of see what's going on here, right? So I'm looking at how much this is shrinking down, how much the ventricle shrinks from its original size. So it goes from there to there. So it's not a crazy amount. And then it kind of inflates at the end before it goes back down again, right? So it crushes down, shrinks, and then it inflates like a balloon a little bit. So I'm really just looking at the ventricles right now. So at about frame 14 or 15, I want to have the ventricle for this remesh I just made shrink down. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn X-ray off again. I'm going to hide my underlying heart model so I don't have any distraction from that. And I'm going to use my a tool called Pose Morph. And we get to that by going to tags and rigging tags and Pose Morph. What the Pose Morph does is it allows you to select a feature or attribute and you can manipulate it. So I'm going to use points in this case. And that brings us to a menu where we can animate, or not animate, but manipulate the pose. And so this is the base pose of our mesh, and we're going to change that pose. And this is going to be vent for ventricular contraction. So ventricular contraction is the new name of this pose. So I want to make sure I've got my mesh selected, my pose morph tag selected, and I'm on my second pose, and it's on edit. Now I can use my polygon manipulation tools and something like the brush selection. Make sure it's on visible only, make sure surface is turned off here in this case. And I'm going to use the brush to just select some polygons. And I'm going to select polygons towards the end. So I'm rotating around. Now I'll hold down Shift and continue selecting those polygons. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means. I'm just trying to grab polygons that are on the ventricular portion. here. And I'm going to now turn up my soft selection a little bit, maybe to like 40. So the soft selection works by sort of fading out what you're selecting into the nearby polygons, which is nice. So I'm going to use the T or scale tool and click outside of my model and just scale this down a little bit. At the same time, I'm going to try to make sure I'm looking kind of perpendicular to my model. And with the move tool selected, I'm just going to move these up a little bit. So I'm shrinking down my ventricles. I also want to kind of rotate them a little bit. So I want to get to a view where I'm looking right at the end and use this outer, just kind of barely clockwise rotation. And now I think I want to use my edge selection, and I kind of want to grab this septum area because if you'll notice I'm going to come back to frame 14 in just a moment. If you notice as we see the heart beating, so this is a good view to see the atria on top and the septum below. If I just play here, watch the location of the septum as we move through. So notice how it moves down, right? It actually contracts anterior or anterior posterior. That septum actually moves down, and so I want to grab that same region, and I'm going to try to do that using the edge tool. So I'm going to hit UL so that I can, UL, and see if I can grab a loop that is close to being that septum. And wow, that worked out pretty well. Just depends on how your model was created, if it works or not. So, like if I tried to grab this one, it wouldn't work at all. But this one worked really well. Um, Pretty happy with that. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use that as a selection device with my move tool. Soft selection turned on. Make sure I'm kind of looking perpendicular to my loop selection. And I'm going to click and then I'm going to click. I had my axis tool on by accident. So I'm going to click and just move this down, right? So I'm moving all this down a little bit. So the whole septum is going to move down towards the point of the heart, towards the apex of the heart, just slightly. We don't want to go too overboard. Great. And now I'm going to grab my selection tools again, and I want to inflate the atria and move them forward. So I'm just going to grab this brush tool and select some of these, maybe scale them up a little bit, maybe move them forward a little bit, and out. And I want to do that same thing with these, or this section as well. But I'm going to do it a little less. I might pop my radius down for my soft selection to like 25. Um, so again, I'm going to scale just slightly, move down slightly. Because you'll notice if I go ahead and play through here, kind of look at the auricle of the left atrium up here on top, you just see the little, that little ear shape sort of getting a little bigger. You don't see a lot of motion in comparison to the right atrium where you see a lot of motion, right? So we can also look at the back a little bit. Right, posterior section of the heart. And you're seeing a lot of motion. Look at how much motion there is in these vessels. So we're um, there's a little bit of bulging happening back here. So I want to just be aware of that as I'm manipulating things. So that's this section right here. So I might just grab a couple spots here, maybe blow them up a little, maybe move them out a little bit. So just some subtle manipulation there. And after we've done that, we've got basically our contraction component. And we're going to use this contraction component of our animation to actually animate the entire thing. So let's come back now to our pose morph, and we're going to change it from edit to animate. And after we've done that, we can now grab this slider and we can see what our animation is looking like, or what our different poses are looking like going between each other. So great tool. Um, so what I want to do is come back and do this in time with this beating heart. So I'm going to say ventricle contraction 0 here. And then at, I think we chose frame 15, I'm going to go ahead and pump this up so that it's matching what's going on in our heart. And maybe like 88% or 85%. We don't have to go 100% necessarily, and we'll contract that there. So we've got that happening. And then the next part is we have this like contraction relaxing. Right? So it's kind of a forceful contraction and then it relaxes a little bit more slowly. But as it relaxes, it actually kind of goes back the other direction, right? So we're going to give it a negative number, something like negative 15 or something like that. And what that's going to do is let the heart inflate a little bit, right? So, and then we want it to go back to 0 at the very end. And then we'll play this and see how it feels. Now, ours is not looping. How do we get it to loop? We simply need to go into our dope sheet here, select our pose morph, grab our ventricular contraction strength attribute, and then in the attributes panel, under the after property, we're going to say repeat, and then we just have to tell it how many times. And I'll just say 100. You can make it as many as you want to. And now it will loop. And then, so what I'm going to do is increase this to 300. I'm just going to watch it for a little bit and see if I'm happy or not. I feel like it's missing a little bit of something, right? So this heart, the real heart, is beating, and then on the back contraction, there's a little bit more of a reversal, right? So I think what I want to do is add another like 0 in right here. So if our pose morph, we're going to come in and say 0, bring it to 0 at this point. And then on this one, I think I want to pop it to a little bit more than 15, like minus 25, maybe minus 30. And then we'll just play with the position of these keyframes. So that's giving us that backward motion again, which I'm kind of digging. I think I might push it a little farther that direction. I'm just nudging things around until I start to feel like they're looking right to me. And what I'm really feeling like is this needs to be even more pronounced, like -40. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that animation. I feel like it's pretty smooth. What I want to do just to refine it a little is grab my F curves. And F curves is a great tool just to, really fine tune animated components. And I'm going to zoom in here and so I can see them really clearly. So this is that little section. Oops. I want to make sure you only select one at a time. Like I like this curve here, but I might make it a little bit more down. Notice how this is starting to look like an EKG a little bit, and that kind of makes sense, right? So you can adjust the amount here and sort of adjust that loop. So this kind of works a little bit like the speed graph in After Effects, and you'll see the difference. So I feel like the heart's really like pushing through there and then relaxing and then pushing through and then relaxing. So this is how you can get a really nicely refined, animation. So I might, if I were doing this for a project, I would probably like just keep tweaking, refining. I could spend another half an hour doing that until I'm absolutely 100% perfect. But I think for the purposes of this demo, it probably is good enough to make the point. What I want to show you now is how do we take this animation and deform the heart. So I'm going to go ahead and save this project. Okay, I want to turn my heart back on and I want to go to the very start frame and make sure it's all aligned and overlapping properly, right? That we don't want to do this at any point where there's overlap, right? It needs to be at this stage where everything is perfectly surrounding the underlying heart. And then I want to do two things. I'm going to take both of these and I'm going to put them in a group, Option G, so they're in a group together. And I'm going to say animated heart. The reason I put them in a group together is now I can grab them both at once and move them around, where before, if I were to have made this remesh object and moved it would become disjointed. It would no longer be in alignment. And so I just want to make sure I always have them together like this. So I'm going to grab my heart and I'm going to take a mesh deformer, place it as a child of my heart. Let's relabel this as animation mesh. And then I will tell this mesh deformer to use the animation mesh. And then I will hit initialize. And as soon as we hit initialize, it makes it a wireframe. And then now we can see that it is doing what we asked it to do, right? It's deforming the heart underneath using the animation that we set up. So the beauty of this is once it's done, let's go ahead and just hide our other heart. Once this is done, I have complete control over my timing, right? So if you need to ever slow down the heartbeat, you can just grab your pulse morph and, knock it down to like 25 frames. And if you need to, slow it down, did I say slow it down? I meant speed it up. You want to slow it down, totally works, right? Uh, so now you have a pretty foolproof workflow for generating accurate motion of a heart. And again, this would work on any heart model. If I were to do like a really nice heart animation, I would probably want to use like the Zygote or 3D Science heart model. It's a really nice quality heart model. There are others out there, and I've linked to a bunch of these in the PDF file that's available in my downloadable resource bundles. So you can check those out in there. Do you want to learn every step there is to know about making biomedical animations from start to finish? If so, you can sign up for my new class. It's called Biomedical Animation from Storyboard to Finished Animation with Cinema 4D. We're going to create a patient education piece together, including voice track, storyboard, music, sound effects, and we'll do it all according to the production process, which is 3 phases: pre-production, production, and post-production. We'll go through every single step, and you can apply everything you learn in this class to your future animations so that you know you're creating rock-solid products. I put a link in the description below so you can learn more about it. So I hope you've enjoyed the video and feel empowered now to create accurate heartbeat animations. Again, if you want to grab the models, if you haven't already, they're in the description. There's a link in the description to download my free resources bundle. If you've liked the video, please hit the subscribe button and give it a like, and I'll see you in the next video.